That's CrossFighters. Again. Now, if y'all are wondering why my last tutorial in this game was a YouTube short, I just wanted to try something different, you know, compared to the long-form videos, because YouTube shorts can only be a maximum of 3 minutes. My last tutorial for this game was on Goku. Well, my last tutorial on this game was for Goku, and that was 6 minutes long. I just wanted to try something new, see if I preferred it more, but apparently I did a poll, and people prefer the longer form content because they can get more information from, you know, having a longer form video. So, you already know the drill. I ran a poll, CrossFighters Discord, yada yada yada, see who won, and unsurprising to my knowledge, the Forbidden One won. Which, yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be telling you how to play him. Now, the reason I find it unsurprising that the Forbidden One had won the poll is because, I'm just going to say this right now, the Forbidden One is the worst character in this entire game, and I think everyone else can speak for that because of one good reason, and it's that he has no means of, like, anything except attack. What I mean by that is, like, look at this. Steve has blocks that can protect him and stuff, you know, get height, stop other physical objects, you know, stuff like that. Peppino, he has movement, and he also has iframes, which is why he's probably the best character in this entire game. The Forbidden One, he only has attacks. And unlike Sans, where, you know, it's mainly range attacks, he has some attacks that require you to be pretty close in order for it to actually work. Which is why it makes him the worst character, because this character is high risk, high reward, compared to any other character like Omni-Man, where you just have to throw a rock and win. You have to be careful when playing the Forbidden One, and that's because, like, he has nothing else to him but attacks, so you have to think, you know, for once in this game, instead of just abusing iframes or something, you have to think to play him. So I'm going to tell you how to play him and not get your ass whooped by every other person. So without further ado, without further, you know, roadblocks to keep me from anything from doing this tutorial, I'm going to be playing him right now. Let's get this party started. Okay, so here we are. My little test subject right here. Let me just double check to see if everything all is up to order. Yep, that's that. Okay, now one thing I will have to say before this gets started, most characters in this game work better with certain kinds of dashes. Like, for example, Steve works a lot better with momentum dash compared to no momentum because his combo game requires him to stall in the air for a lot of stuff. But for Forbidden One, it doesn't matter which one you use, which is honestly a relief because, well, he's pretty good either way. But it does kind of change how his combo game works and how his infinite combo works. And yes, he can infinite combo, which what makes him so deadly. So without further ado, let's test these moves out. You can't see them because for some reason on streamer cam it doesn't show my HUD, but trust me, yeah, let's get this started. Okay, so starting off with this first move, Voice Strike. Now, this is a pretty simple move. It's just a look at a player and press RT move, but overall it's one of the more, like, decently better, like, or more so decently worse ones, but, like, it still has its great uses. So, basically, you just look at someone, press RT. Now, the knockback for this thing sends diagonally back, so it can start air combos, and it can also reset combo cooldowns. The funny thing I find about this is that it only has a 15-second cooldown, which is considerably low compared to stuff like, I don't know, Kamehameha, which has 20, or Meteor, which has 20. So basically, you just look at a player, press RT, and then they just... yeah, that happens. Now, that is 7 damage, which is honestly a pretty great amount for what its cooldown is. So, basically how you'd want to use this is that you want to use this during a combo, and then you use it after the 4th hit to then do another combo in the air. Now, you know, of course, it could be difficult to pull off if certain attributes like, you know, your dash type, but overall, it's a pretty simple move, and it gets the job done, which says a lot about the move, honestly. And yeah, that's that. And yeah, so for his next move, Nova Blast. Now this move, it's his projectile move, and honestly, it's a solid move for comboing, but like, compared to most projectiles in this game, it's so slow that like a mountain could dodge them. But when you use it, it's gonna fire out projectile, and what it says here for, you know, the ability on how to use it, use ability, then look to change its direction. What it means by that is that you can steer it depending on which way you look. So if I look this way, use it, and then turn looking right, it's gonna turn right. See? Look at that. Look at the arc. Look at the curvature at which it was sent. Now, this is honestly a great move for air combos, or just combos in general, because like fishing rod, the move sends opponents towards you. It pulls them in towards you. So if I were to use it on him, I can easily do that and then start a combo right there. That does a solid 7 damage. It has a, I think, 17-second cooldown. Overall, it's a great move for just doing combos in general. And if you could apply logic from the Steve tutorial in this, you can use it to start air combos by doing the cutesy scoop method, which is dashing above someone and then looking down on them. The only kind of difference is that, because unlike fishing rod, if you were to down slam someone with this, it doesn't immediately, like, take them out the ground, unlike fishing rod. So you can do this, and then do that. They'll stay in the ground. But what fishing rod does is that it just pulls them out of being ground pounded. This does not do that, however. But overall, it's a great move. But comboing with this thing can depend on your type of dash that you use. Like, for example, because I'm using no momentum dash, which is, faster, but I can't stall for longer, if I wanted to air combo with this thing, instead of dashing up and then looking down, which can be really difficult because I have no time to do that, what I do personally, is that I jump above them, use Nova Blast, and then look around, or turn around, and then immediately go for them. Bit rusty here, so, forgive me. But now, if you wanted to use something like Momentum Dash, you would have to do the cutesy scoop, just like with Steve. So you'd have to look up and then down, but, if you were to do this in a combo, I would suggest doing it on the 3rd hit and not the 4th, because this move doesn't reset combo cooldowns, unlike Fishing Rod. So you would have to just look up on the 3rd hit, and then look down on them, to then do the combo. I killed him there, so I'm going to have to respawn him. But you get the gist of it. It's essentially Fishing Rod, but like minus a few perks, but plus a few perks. I think this move is great for just having opponents come towards you. Because you can steer it, it's really good just to have opponents, run into it. Like, look at that. That's a lot of ground coverage just from that move. Now, one thing I will say about this is that if your opponent's predicting it, they can just simply, go around it, or be fast enough to where the steering of it won't matter. But one thing you can do that's really unconventional but cool is that you can turn around to have it continuously, go in that direction. So if I do this and then turn around, see? Look at that arc. And essentially that's just kind of a second chance thing if you miss, but overall it's really risky because you're looking away from your opponent, and what you want to do in a fight is not look away from your opponent to see what they're doing. But yeah, overall this move is a solid 8 out of 10 in my book. So yeah. Okay, so now for his next move, which honestly might be his worst move. I'm just saying. Arcane Impact. It does this. That's the range of it, and that's the whole ability. That's really all it does. Now, it does have a 15-second cooldown like Void Strike, but because the charge-up is so long, it's not worth it. Back then, in the beta of CrossFighters, this had iframes to it, which is why TFO was so deadly. He had this ability that gave him iframes during the charge-up, and then it was a counter move. Now what it does, it's essentially the same thing then, but just remove the iframes, and if you get hit during the charge-up of it, it's going to show the animation and all, show the animation of it doing something, but it will not hit. So make sure, when you're using this, your opponent is stunned, and make sure that he is not going to be able to move for a good while. Now, the move does, solid damage on its own. It pushes people, away. That was, 7 damage again. Overall, this move is not the greatest. Now, yes, it can reset combos, punch combos, I think. This move is honestly not the greatest move in his kit, probably the worst one, because it doesn't have, the quickness or the range of most other moves. But it does have its good uses. If you were to down slam someone and then use the move, it remains them stunned until they get back up. Which, unlike some other moves that just, don't have the stun time for that long, it's pretty solid for doing that. So watch, if I were to do this and then ground slam, use it. Make sure you hit the side of it because the hitbox is on the side, not the center. And then you can just do another air combo and yeah. So that's how you'd use this move. Of course, if you were doing this in a combo, you'd have to, do a stall slam, which is doing an air combo and then, waiting on the last hit to slam down and then use the move. Now, the move can be risky because, you know, if you were to use this move, your opponent is going to have to be on the ground, and unless you have a move that can send upwards, which is every other move in his kit, it's going to be pretty difficult to try and do that. So, yeah, what I suggest doing is just doing that, slamming, and if you want to go for another combo on the ground, you can do that because, well, you know, it's a game about comboing. But yeah, so overall I would suggest this move mainly for doing that. I do not suggest this move just using it out of the blue. One thing about it that I will note is that all momentum that you have from it stops upon it, you know, actually working, which is pretty solid because, you know, for moves that can send you far, like Finger Flick, it can be really good against Finger Flick on Goku because if he were to use it on you and you get flicked up, like if you were to use it on you and you get flicked up, you can just stop midair and then fall back to the ground, so he can't do another air combo on you, which is pretty great. Having more health and not dying is what you want in this game. So yeah, I'd recommend this move for just extending combos and all that. It says look at a player and then press RT, but like realistically it's just a charge up move. Like you just press RT and then wait for the charge up, bam, you have a move out. So yeah, I don't recommend using this move just out of the blue. I recommend doing it to extend your combos after ground slamming someone. And yeah. And finally, for his last move, Null Trail, which I personally think is his other best move because it's overall just great for doing combos. Now, what this move says is use ability, then point with your right hand to change its direction. Now, if you remember what I did for Nova Blast, where I tilt my head, this is the same thing, but instead with your right hand. Of course, if you're on mobile, you know, you have to, you know, just actually look around to change your right hand position. But, essentially, if you do this, then tilt your hand, it is a trail. Now, it overall has great range. What I'd recommend for doing it is that, you know, if you wanted to use it out of the blue just to have a nice wall, a protective barrier around you, I will admit, so one thing, the entire hitbox isn't the large tentacles up here, it's down here where these little circles are, I think. This move is not something you'd want to use, like, if your opponent can get high ground. Like, I suggest using this if you know your opponent's going to dash towards you, and then you have to have an option to get them away from you, or if you want to counter combo them. Now, the unique part about this move is that its damage differs. It has an 18-second cooldown, but its damage differs, and for one good reason. It has constant tick rate damage for as long as a part of the move is active. So if I were to just use it on this test subject right here, it launches them up in the air, which is great for starting air combos. I did a total of 4 damage, which was not much at all. Now, what else you could do with this is, because it's a tick rate move, if you were to ground slam them, like ground slam your opponents, and then use the move, that's constant damage, and then they get launched into the air after the move, and then you can just start air combos with that. That was 21 damage. You know, okay, subtracting the fact that, it was 8 from that, you know, 2 per punch, which is 8. That was 13 damage overall from the ground slam of it, and then, you know, the extra from the punches. That's pretty good because you can just continuously do an air combo on them. You know, because the moveset's directly up, you can just do air combos on them, which is great. This move can be comboed into other stuff. Like, you can use, like, Null Trail to do a Nova Blast if you know you're not going to get it to your dash in time. Like, if you were using Momentum Dash. Now, yes, this move does have its flaws, because people can just, like, find any high ground. Like, look, they can literally just jump onto this trash can, then jump over the move, because the entire tentacles aren't the hitbox. It's just the ground level. That's the hitbox. They can't jump over it on its own, I don't think. But, like, yeah. You're going to have to... One thing I'd recommend using for this move is that if you're using it out of the blue, find anywhere where, you know, your opponents don't have high ground. If they can just dash up and all, yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. But just find ways to not have them be on high ground. Oh, yeah, one thing I do recommend is that if you were to tilt your hand down compared to just pushing it forward, the direction of the Null Trail actually goes with your hand direction. So if you were to just point it down, it would just stay still. So watch, I'm going to point forward and point down. See how it just stops there? I know it's inconsistent because my hand wasn't pointing directly down, but it basically just puts down the speed of it, which can be useful because if you want to concentrate all the damage on downslamming someone, you would have to do that And if you wanted to maybe kind of cause more range around you, you can, then point it forward. So yeah, overall this move is a great move for starting air combos because it sends directly upwards. It's great for damage because it does a total of 22 damage, 8 for your hands and then 13 for the actual move slamming down. But yeah, so now it's time to tell you about extra tips and tricks and his combo game. Okay, it's been a few days later since I've recorded that last bit, but yeah, I'm still here. I'm still going to show you all this. So, for the extra tips and tricks, I'm just going to give you an extra tip for Void Strike. Okay, so something to know about Void Strike is that depending on what type of dash you're using, it's much different to air combo with the dash. So if I were to use Void Strike with no momentum dash, it's going to be pretty easy in order to combo into another air combo. So if I were to do this, then dash up towards them, watch. You can just do this, and then immediately do it to dash up. See? That's a pretty consistent way to do combos on someone. Just doing that. That was 31 damage! 31! That was a good amount. So now if I were to go back here and turn on momentum dash, you're going to notice something very different. So I'm going to do the same thing, the exact same thing I did to the dummy that I did the first time with no momentum dash. So if I do this, dash up, watch. Do that, dash. See? Because you don't have as much speed when it comes to momentum dash, it's much harder to do that. So what I can recommend doing, instead of doing that, this is a technique that was found by Cukesy back in the beta of CrossFighters. What you can do is instead dash towards someone, instead of hitting them, instead of using Void Strike, as soon as you hit someone with a 4th hit of an air combo, you instead, and hear me out on this, what you instead do is dash towards them, and then Void Strike, and then dash right back towards them. Let me see if my streamer cam's on, actually. Yes, it is. So, to demonstrate, do this, do that. You might need to dash twice, but since I give you a blue dash, you should be able to do it just fine. Now, see, the one thing about that has its own benefits compared to no momentum dash. Momentum dash has its own benefits, and it's that it takes longer to get towards them, which can overall give you more time for your cooldowns to go down. So, yeah. Basically what I'm saying is just whatever type of dash you're using in the game, just adapt to using that and find different ways. Now, of course, you can ground slam someone in the air to then use the move. Like, if I were to do this, for example, you can do this, wait up, boom, then that, dash, but just really only meant for no momentum. You can do that if you want to stall more time with no momentum, but yeah, overall, that's a tip I would give for this. Now it's time for Nova Blast. Now for Nova Blast, something you should know about it is that it is a basketball. Yes, you heard me right, it's literally just a basketball with a texture around it. So yeah, because it's a basketball, it is physical. Like, if you were to hit like something physical with it, like the ground, you can hear that's the basketball, and also it's just not gonna go through. So something about it is that because it's physical, it can stop objects, like some objects. Like, for example, let me just show you something real quick. Let me show you something. Because Cosmic Meteor is a physical object, the difference between Nova Blast and any other physical object is that Nova Blast constantly goes where you're going, and it'll always have velocity. There's no stopping it. Because Cosmic Meteor, for example, is just throwing a rock, it just abides by physics, so it just does whatever it wants. Because you have control with Nova Blast, and it keeps its velocity, you can stop Cosmic Meteor with Nova Blast. Now that would have hit me right there and dealt me 10 damage, but because I used that, it didn't. Now there's a bit of leniency between that because, latency is a big problem. You're going to have to use it a lot more earlier if you want to stop it. But because you can do that, you can then counterattack with the Nova Blast, which is great. Like, really just great overall for doing that. So yeah, that's my tip for Nova Blast. Because it's a physical object, it can stop other physical objects, the best being Cosmic Meteor. And yeah, now I'm going to tell you something for Arcane Impact, if I can think of anything for Arcane Impact. So, one thing that you should know that I already said, because even though I recorded this a long time ago, Arcane Impact stop all your momentum. So watch, if I were to dash and then use it, see, I completely stop. I would have kept going, but instead I just completely stopped in place because of Arcane Impact. Now because of this, Arcane Impact can be used to counter other people from comboing you. It may not be efficient, but it can work. So like for example, let's say if I were to use Arcane Impact and my little Tessa dummy here were to use Arrow Charge on me. So if I were to do this... Oh wait, I mistimed it. So because Arcane Impact stops all your momentum, if someone were to launch you into the air when you're using Arcane Impact, it'll stop all your momentum and then it'll bring you back down to the ground. And then they won't be able to air combo you. So let's say if I were to use this... See? Look at that. He hit me, I would have went straight up there, but instead I just stopped right there and fell to the ground. That's the unique part. It stops all your momentum. Now this can be useful for a plethora of things. Like for example, if you wanted to stop someone from finger flicking you, or if you wanted to stop someone from, let's say, let me think, fishing rodding you, using fishing rod on you, or even Mad Dash, or even Flying Ladder, or even Rocket Ride. I just named every single move Pepino has, basically. Even stuff like Ground Spike that'll send you directly up. You'll just stop right there in place. So Arcane Impact can be good for just, you know, stopping other players from combo you. It is an attack move, but it can also work as a defense move. Even though it did have iframes back when the game was in beta, you can still kind of use it. Because it stops all momentum, you know, because, you know. See, I just went back. So yeah, so what I'd recommend doing with this is that if you can use that as an attack, use that as an attack. But if you can use it to stop players from air comboing you, it's a bit lenient of timing, but if you can do it, you can do it. Just make sure though that once you get hit during the charge up of the move, it's unusable. The charge up, if someone hits you during the charge up, you cannot use the move anymore. It's just, it does nothing after that. It has the effect play, but nothing will happen. It will not deal any damage or knockback. Okay, last tip, and it's for Null Trail. Now, the funny thing about Null Trail is that, well, first off, it's a trail. But there's two things that you need to know about it that makes it heavenly to use. One thing that you should know is that... I'm just going to fly real quick. Null Trail will always... if you can use Null Trail on a base platform and then go off of it, so it'll just stay in the air. It won't just go down to the ground. It'll just stay in the air. Now that can be good if you want to like get some more coverage from characters going above you, or if you just want to cover more ground because, you know, Null Trail, it is just the ground area, but it's only the ground area of the trail, which can make it so if you were to use that on a platform like right here and then use it to control it, it's going to be much harder for enemies to avoid that because they're going to have to go above it to avoid it, or just not go towards it at all. Now, another thing you should know about Null Trail is that the starting area of it will always be on the ground. It will never, and I mean never, start in the air. What I mean by that is that you can hang your hand directly off this platform and use it, and it starts directly down there. Where's my hand tracking? Directly down there. So, if you were to be high up, for example, you can trick your opponents into thinking you're going to do something, like dashing towards them. So, like, if you're in the air, for example, if you're in the air and your opponent's trying to dash up towards you to start an air combo on you, what you can instead do is bait out them and then just use that, do that, air combo them, and then, yeah. So that's two things you should know about Null Trail, because, you know, a lot of the things in this game can be avoided. Null Trail is kind of, like, very avoidable, because you can just jump over it, because, as I said, the tentacles aren't the hitbox, it's these rings that are the hitbox. Now, you can't see the rings in, like, other versions of the game. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, on other platforms, because I'm on PC VR right now, you can see that. But, yeah. So, just to recap, Null Trail will always be at the same level as when you started, and Null Trail will always start on the ground beneath your hand. So, yeah. That's the two tips I could give for Null Trail. Now I'm going to show you what his combos are like, because trust me, you can kill with them. Okay, so you may have just wondered why the aspect ratio changed just now. It's because I needed to show you all this information down here. This down here is all of his abilities. And I need to show you the cooldowns in order to get you to understand why the combos work the way they do. So I'm going to combo him here. And, if you're wondering why I can't use it on streamer cam or 16:9 on MetaQuest, is because on streamer cam, the HUD wouldn't show. On 16:9 on MetaQuest, it would just cut off all the abilities and show half the health bar and the dashes. So I'm just going to show you his combo game during this. And if I mess up here, I'm just going to, like, keep doing takes until I get one correct. So, yeah, I'm just going to show you how it works. Okay, one thing you should do here is stall between some of the punches so that you can still keep him stunned. But you can also do this. Now watch. If I'm hitting 3 times, that was 3, and then do this. Now, notice how I didn't do the thing right, dashed away. It's because it's a very risky thing to go for, but this works fine. And look at that, he's dead. Now, the reason I didn't go for the Nova Blast scoop thing with no momentum dash and then turning around is because it's a very risky thing to go for. Because, yes, it can work, but it does take some mastering to get used to. I did master it, but I haven't played this game for a good while. I'm going to be showing you his combo game for momentum now instead of no momentum. Because, overall, momentum can be a little more straightforward and not as terrible to go for. It's just the void check thing you gotta watch out for. Okay, now to show you as for momentum dash. It's gonna be a bit different, but overall same setup. I just like to do it as a startup. So this is gonna be a bit different here. See, I had to dash towards him twice, but yeah, you can get the picture. I dash towards him right here, just so I can catch up to him, so he doesn't get out of stun in time. I keep doing that. Dash up, boom. So one thing I should tell you about Nova Blast and its scooping thing is that I suggest dashing down towards the enemy after it. Mainly because, well, it's mainly because if you were to not, they can get out of stun in time and then combo you. And trust me, if you're both stunned in air from an air combo, it's just gonna keep you right there. And you don't want that. So yeah, basically some things can differ. The only reason why I didn't do the Nova Blast no momentum thing, where you jump above someone and then turn down on them, it's mainly because it's very risky to go for, because just doing it on the ground can be just fine. But yeah, that's his combo game, just in general. Okay, yeah, that was it for the TFO tutorial. Now, if you want me to potentially go into something that I didn't mention here or something, feel free to comment. I may make a YouTube short about it, saying, like, we're just going deeper into said thing. But yeah, I mean, I think this was a good tutorial. So far I've covered the Forbidden One, I've covered Steve, I've covered Goku, and I say I covered Omni-Man in my first tutorial for the game, but I personally think that I should just do it again, just in case y'all want a recap. But yeah, overall, I think that I did a good job. Now, if y'all want me to potentially do more of these, like, subscribe, subscribe if you want to, subscribe, turn on bell if you want to, see whenever I upload one of these, because you never know, I could be making something else other than just Crossfire tutorials. I'm thinking about doing other things, but hey, I'm just saying, I might do some of that. If there's one thing that I didn't mention, just feel free to comment saying something, and, I could make a short about it. I already said that, but just feel free to support me overall. I bet I said overall way too much during the entirety of this tutorial. It's just a really good word to use. I'm sorry if I say it too much, but it's just a really good word to just summarize something. So, yeah. I don't know who else watches this other than the CrossFighters community, but I don't know if whoever's watching this in China or something. Shoutouts to that one person in China watching me or something. Yeah. So thanks, guys. I maybe do something else for my next other videos, but if you want me to keep doing Crossfire tutorials, yeah, just say something. Also, if you want to join the Discord, since I'm going to be running most polls about the game in the Discord. So if you want to join the Discord, it's that right there. And if you want me to do more stuff like this, or if you want to like ask me questions about the game, feel free to. Now, I'm not the creator, of course. I'm just the administrator, but yeah. Thanks, guys, for just being here along the way. I don't know who else watched this, but yeah, thanks. That really helps. See you guys at some other time, I guess. I don't know when I'll upload something else, but I'll just see you again sometime. See ya.